So Pulse Secure has just launched the Pulse Zero Trust Access solution. So I guess, can you just start off by giving us a sort of high-level overview of what that is?
Yeah, phenomenal. So secure access is a mainstay. Organizations use secure access solutions to allow users and devices and things to connect to applications and resources that are on the network or in a cloud. And so what PZTA, or Pulse Zero Trust Access, what we launched was a service. So it's a cloud delivered service in which we are hosting a portion of the software in the cloud, in fact, specifically in Microsoft Azure. And it is applying a zero trust model that allows the user to directly access applications and resources, whether they're in the data center or cloud, in a very easy way, but in a trusted way. So no longer trusting users that are inside the network or outside the network, but essentially verifying for every connection, both the user and their identity, verifying the device, verifying the security posture of the device, and taking all those attributes and determining whether or not a user with their device can access certain resources. So that is why it's called Pulse Zero Trust Access, because we're literally applying the zero trust model, but we're delivering it as a secure access service, or SaaS.
Okay, and perhaps digging down a little bit, can you explain how it helps people in terms of simplifying access management?
Sure. Well, PZTA, again, it's delivered out as a service. So we are hosting the system, the access management system, in the cloud, and that keeps track of all users. It keeps track of their devices and things, keeps track of the infrastructure and the applications that they'll essentially being connected to. And it centralizes the policy. So that simplifies access management rather than having various pockets of policies that would exist with multiple types of access solutions. It centralizes it. It makes it very more granular, meaning that you really can specify what types of users, what the security condition would be to allow for access, and directly what application they would access. So that's very simplified. And it also simplifies provisioning. It makes it very easy for the administrator to bring up new applications and bring them into the fold of access management. From the end user perspective, it keeps things super simple. End users don't really have to think about where they're going or what they're doing, what they need to do. Essentially, they would double click on an application or go on the web to connect to an application. In the background, our system would automatically determine the security, the user's identity, the security posture of the device, to then determine if that's access is allowed. And if so, it's just all streamlined. So everything happens in the back end. So not only are we looking at improving the user experience for the end user, but also for the administrator.
Okay, and in terms of the way people are accessing I guess, their IT resources. Clearly, we've seen a fundamental change thanks to the pandemic. But even before that, with digital transformation, I guess, remote working, mobile working. So I guess, how does the solution help in terms of that sort of hybrid, if you like, workplace managing, access management, security issues around that?
Indeed, everyone is going to a hybrid workplace. There was a cybersecurity insider report that said upwards of 60% or more of organizations anticipate moving to a hybrid workplace environment, with some parts of the organization working home, much broader workplace flexibility. And so you have less security assurances depending on their device that they're using, the network that they're using, how well they maintain that device. And these devices are now more outside the control of IT, or in some cases, even if it's corporate issued, how do you ensure that the security posture of that device is maintained? So the remote worker has definitely become a new target. It's introduced a lot new attack vectors to try to steal identity, to introduce malware. And so you need an integrated approach to reduce the security risks for hybrid IT work, for hybrid work. And so to do that, what PZTA does as a solution, it actually allows you to really verify that user, the user's identity, using multi-factor authentication, leveraging single sign-on technologies such as SAML. It allows you to get full device visibility and posture inspection. So I can understand not only what the device is, I can understand key configuration requirements of the device. And I can understand, for example, maybe the personal firewall setting should have been turned on, but it's turned off. Or maybe the malware solution is out of date, or the endpoint management system, it's installed but not running. I can now, you have a third-party system, essentially our system, now being able to inspect that. And what it's going to do is say, based on these attributes, what resources and applications, no matter whether they're on the web or private cloud, or whether they're in a data center, what resources does that user have access to, so it can the right people with the right configurations, not using at-risk systems, can get at sensitive information applications that they need to do their work. And so that's really how PZTA not only supports overall migration to hybrid IT, essentially where people are migrating their applications and resources to the cloud and taking advantage of SaaS as well. But it also addresses a lot of the risks brought about with a remote hybrid workplace.
Okay, and I got to ask, I mean, maybe it doesn't matter that much, but was this solution brought out specially for the situation, or at least it's a release accelerated, or was it always sort of on the roadmap to sort of happen about now?
That's a great question, because we actually started developing this solution quite a few years ago. So about 2.5 years ago, what we saw with our customers, and again, we do have quite a large install base, and customers from mid-range to extremely large national and global organizations across industry, is that there are various stages of migrating applications and resources to the cloud to take advantage of utility computing. And because you have certain applications that are legacy applications, maybe they're mid-range systems, or they're very complex applications that use multiple systems, not all these applications can be readily ported and brought to the cloud. And some organizations have only certain types of applications and users that they can allow to go into cloud, whereas maybe they have data obligations or compliance obligations that would not permit them to bring those applications to the cloud. And so what we saw is essentially hyper-convergence, the convergence of on-premise, data center, cloud, this is public cloud, private cloud, and SaaS, all coming together, but with pockets of secure access controls. So how do you bring it all together and have a more unified policy? This is what we were thinking about when we developed our service. The second trend we saw is that a lot of organizations are now moving towards cloud delivered service. You've heard of SASE. Cloud delivered service basically is a growing trend, as not only companies are moving to their infrastructure to the cloud and applications to the cloud, but even security that is being cloud delivered. So we started developing this. We came out with our first version of our solution almost 1.5 years ago. And this new versions are brand new, that is completely SaaS, it's completely cloud delivered, but it addresses not only those that are migrating to the cloud, but also addresses those that are being cloud first or cloud only. So we address the whole aspect of the market. It just so happens that this pandemic accelerated a lot of companies to take advantage of cloud services and cloud applications, but our transition to the cloud with this application started much earlier than that.